JJ, I think this is the first time we talked for about 15 seconds beforehand, and we're both kind of getting into this. I'm like, you know what? You and I know each other well enough at this point. Let's go because I was in Virginia and D.C. last week. I'm in Cleveland right now, and man, D.C. I haven't been to D.C. since I was a little kid, and it's very interesting. I was in Arlington Cemetery and then did the whole Lincoln Memorial, and man, what a stark contrast going from one area to another area. And they're very proximity. They're very close to each other, but you see like the events that are going to occur there this weekend. Donald Trump's birthday, Army, the celebration of the Army, parade. And then you have the No Kings. What is it? I don't even know. What is it called? The No Kings protest?
NoKings.org. Yeah, I guess I call them the clearinghouse, where everyone goes to find out where they are. And you know who's funding all that, right? The major funder for No Kings.
I don't.
And that her name is Christy Walton, the heiress, one of the heiresses of Walmart. She brought out a full-page color ad in the New York Times. That's what, $100,000 at least minimum, and she is funding the NoKings.org.
Well, and here's the other thing that, I was talking to my friend Lynn Finn yesterday in regards to COVID. And to me, there's a lot of characteristics here with this event going on Saturday. They got the domain name. They've got over 1,400 locations, I think, nationwide. It might even be more than that. And this was not put together in a couple of days, I imagine.
No. This is planned. This is what made me, and I have to give credit to this X account. It's Data Republican, that great lady that goes in and dives in. If you go to her account, and you have to be really on it with her because she's so smart and she's digging in. Do you know the vast majority of all the NGOs that are conspiring to do this to America? Do you know who's paying for it? You and me. The federal government is paying the NGOs to carry out our demise. I'm so frustrated, and yet I am the biggest supporter of Donald Trump because I give him so much grace because the enormity of what this man is trying to accomplish, on top of all the ceremonial crap as a president he's trying to do and trying to fight his own party. But where in the hell is the organization or group of people that are looking at the NGOs and tearing them apart? Look what Elon Musk said through Doge. Thousands of NGOs are tied to the federal government, and the federal government is funding all of their nefarious activities, and the vast majority of the NGOs connected to the federal government are through Democrats. Why are they still being funded? I think that's a valid question I wanted to ask the president. Why are you still funding these? Stop funding them. Where's Speaker Johnson? That's even a better question. Why is it? It's not Donald Trump's responsibility. It's Speaker Johnson. Speaker Johnson has not codified a damn thing. It's 5 months now, dude. We are the most vulnerable we have ever been in the United States of America because our own government's trying to kill us and destroy our sovereignty. And if you think that's hyperbole, then let's look at what's happened in the last decade to the United States of America. Do you feel more safe? Do you feel as if your money's secure? Do you feel as if we're out of wars? Do you think that we're all together as a nation and we're all one people? Come on. These are questions we need to ask each other and ask ourselves.
Well, and you've seen the moral decay, the moral and just the physical decay of cities. I mean, where I live in Phoenix, I mean, night and day. If we went back in time 10 years, and we've talked about this before, I mean, ties into your documentary and suburbs of cities, and people in suburbia think that this can't touch them, and there's a vast, large amount of people that are still blissfully unaware because they don't want to know. They have no idea how bad this situation is. And they thought Trump would get back in and this would all go away.
Yeah, they thought when he won, everybody. I remember people saying to me, "Oh, thank God, now we can relax." What? And I've had people say to me, "Wow, what are you going to talk about now that Trump's in office?" And I'm like, "What's wrong with you? How are you so imbecilic in your thinking? This is we're in the beginning stages of a war. We're about to be in a full-blown hot war. You don't think that I have said this, and I've written in my books, and I said in my book that I pray that I'm wrong, but I know I'm not going to be. You are going to see the streets of America soaked in blood of illegal aliens, the sympathizers of illegal aliens, and this is, I don't care about those two. They could bleed out and die in the millions. I don't care. That will do America great service. But you're going to have severely injured and killed law enforcement officers across America. You just said 1,400 spots. Let's say 1,400 locations. Michael, let's say that 10% materialize into LA type situation. That's 140 burning cities, 140 law enforcement officers and military fighting for their lives and safety. Do you think that no one's going to die in a uniform with a gun and a badge on their chest? Are you serious? You're thinking that's not going to happen? It's going to happen. It's going to happen in massive amounts. It's not when, if, it's when, and it's how many. Not, well, I wonder if a law enforcement officer is going to die. No, how many are going to die? And then the big question that I struggle with all the time, is anything that happens going to wake America up? And I don't know the answer to that.
I'm with you. And, even as you look back on LA, that seems to be, is that calming down in your opinion?
No, it's not calming down. Why should it calm down? Why? What's the repercussions? I think there are 50 to 100 people arrested. What? 100 people max arrested that I'm aware of? Are you kidding me? I think it's going to accelerate by this weekend.
Well, and the other thing I wonder, regards to that is, and a friend of mine pointed this out to me, so I don't want to take credit, but we were talking on the phone about, you had the guy holding the Mexican flag on the motorcycle, right? You had the guy holding the flag on the
Burning
motorcycle.
Car? Huh?
And the guy was like chiseled, like a model. He looked like a model. This episode is brought to you by Vaulted. Launched by McIlvaney Financial Group. With Vaulted, I literally just tap a button and bam, I own physical gold stored in a professional vault. I can also take delivery at any time. Extremely simple and less expensive than any other method. The do-it-yourself way to buy precious metals. Click on the promo link in the show notes or go to vaulted.blbvux.net/coffeeandamike. I mean, look at how easy this is. The Vaulted app on my phone, I can access it at any time. So you got one side of people like hating this guy, then you have probably a mass population of women that want to date this guy or sleep with him. Was that by accident, you think, that they put a guy like that on this motorcycle with a flag? Almost looked like a cover shot of a magazine.
Yeah. I don't, there's nothing that anyone that asks me something that sounds far-fetched, my immediate reaction is, of course that could be true. It used to be 3 years ago, 5 years ago, someone would say something far-fetched, I would kind of push back from them and kind of look at them sideways and like, what's the angle? Now my immediate reaction when I hear something far-fetched is, well, of course that could be planned and orchestrated. Of course. We live in an alternative world today, in today's world. Everything needs to be questioned. There's nothing that you are seeing in real time that makes logical sense or should be taken at face value. Nothing. Listen, you are having politicians on news stations like CNN, MSNBC, politicians and reporters going, well, it's very peaceful. Literally is burning. It's burning behind them. It's very peaceful. One commentator said, well, I hope the government don't come out and really go after these protesters because they're very peaceful. They're just standing around watching cars burn. What in God's name am I listening to? Maxine Waters, who is a filthy old woman wearing a dirty wig, gets up there and says, I've been walking around LA, and there's no riots. This is all a lie. It's peaceful. I've already counted at least 10 police cars that have been completely damaged and destroyed. And I want your audience to understand, we're not talking about 10 sedans or 10 SUVs that are worth $80,000. You're looking at $100,000 SUV that had another $60,000 to $80,000 put into it, retrofitted for suspension, for light bars, for computers, to gun racks, detention space in the back. 60. So you're looking at 10 vehicles. You're already pushing 1.5 to $2 million in damage just in 10 cars. Just 10 cars. More or less everything else. And then the thing that needs to be discussed, and no one will say it, but I've said it on my show and I write about it. The looting. The looting, and it is the vast majority of Black Americans that are looting and destroying private property. I showed a video today on my show of Philadelphia, looted an entire Walmart. An entire Walmart was looted. Do you know how much product is in one Walmart? I also talk about this man named Patrick Buchanan, I think the greatest historian current today. And I played a video clip for someone today that was an interview he had years ago. And he said, we can't stay at this pace of, quote, diversity. We've never had these type of problems that we have today, and it's because of a demographic shift in America. And he's right. And no one wants to say it because they're scared to death, be called a racist and you're a xenophobe. You just had our government take in so many illegal aliens over the last 50 years that you have completely destroyed our demographics, meaning whites have now gone from 87% of the population to 65%. Blacks have been at 11. They're somewhere between 13 and 11%. They've stayed stagnant. Hispanics have leapfrogged blacks by tens of millions. Did Hispanics Americans have tens of millions of babies in the last 30 years? No. Your federal government did an influx, an invasion of tens of millions, of Latin American, Central American, and Mexican nationals into America, artificially destroying the demographics of America. Why is it okay for Japan, China, Russia, Iran, Mexico, Guatemala, I can go on and on and on. Why is it okay for them to maintain their racial demographic structure, their cultural norms, their societal norms, their religion, their language, their belief system? Every country can maintain that, but America can't. And it's okay for us to openly admit that 87% of American women are whites need to be replaced. And all the stupid white Karens and all the beta white males sat there like stupid little children and nodding, yes, that sounds great. Let's destroy our culture. This is what the evil of the Democrat Party and the cowardice of the Republican Party has done to America. In less than 50 years, we have completely altered the face, the look, the texture of America. And it's indisputable. And you can call me whatever name you want, but you have to admit that this is factually true data.
Well, and I wouldn't even say the cowardice of Republicans. They're willingly participating in all this because they don't care what happens to you or I. And this is, and they don't care if a couple million people die.
I believe that. I believe that to be true. Yes, I do.
I mean, the way they look at it is what's the world will be, these people, they're absolute psychopaths. And you saw during COVID, Republicans didn't do anything. No, they didn't. In fact, they told you, they sided with the Democrats, and they told you that you can go to strip joints, you can go get marijuana, and you can go to the liquor store, and you can go to every box store, major box store. But all the mom and pops, COVID likes to hunt in the mom and pop stores, and they stay out of the big box stores. And you can't go to church because COVID hates God, and it will go in and affect you there. And every stupid ass American just nodded their head. Okay, that makes sense to me. And the Republicans did nothing to stop it because the Republican Party and the Democrat Party are one and the same. The Democrats are more evil. The Republicans just want money. That's it. The Democrats want the power.
and the ability to tell you what to do. Republicans just want to be left alone, but they want to be wealthy. And that's true. Name me one Republican congressperson or senator that is not a millionaire. Go ahead. I'm waiting. Ben Crenshaw, a Navy SEAL.
You mean Dan Crenshaw?
I'm sorry, Dan Crenshaw. Dan Crenshaw, aka Little John McCain. He came out of the Army, which they make nothing, and he's now worth $5 to $10 million. What? What did he create? What did he make? What did he sell? Well, he sold his influence. He's just one of all of them. All of them are wealthy now. AOC. I'm not knocking her because she's a bartender. She came in with like $3,000 in equity. $3,000. She's now worth millions of dollars. Is anyone here listening today are going to say that AOC is an intellectual giant, a financial wizard that knows the stock market? No. And even when you look at Pelosi, that's worth $250 million. She cannot trade as much stock needed to obtain that wealth. Therefore, they have to be getting kickbacks. They have to be getting bribes in the millions of dollars, and they are. Our government is corrupt to the core.
So do you think the events that are occurring this weekend? I'm under the belief it's because there's so much awareness of it that it's going to come and it's going to pass and nothing major is going to happen. Because it usually seems to me, I look back at 2020, the George Floyd stuff, at least I wasn't aware, people were caught off guard that night. Mm-hmm. And because there's so much attention to this, I feel like people are on kind of a red alert for Saturday.
Well, what happens every time they do a riot and there's no repercussions? They do it again and it gets bigger, right? It just gets bigger and bigger. So George Floyd, the Summer of Love, there were several cities that burnt. Now let's look at what's happening now. Now we're at 1,400 dots on the map. And let's say that 10% we talked about they're going to burn. That's 140 cities. That's a big difference from the Summer of Love of 2020. And this is what needs to happen, is this constant the half-assery, if you will, of responding to this. Why are we not going for the kill shot? Meaning, if I need 5,000 National Guard, why don't I put in 50,000? If I'm going to send in 1,000 Marines, why don't I send in 15,000 Marines? Why don't I call all of the Marines and our military from across the globe that are fighting for other countries, and why don't they come here and fight for us? And don't tell me that we can't do that on American soil because of military. These are unprecedented times. We have had a government for the last 4 years destroying the United States of America. There is no more time for half-assed measures. There just aren't. We have to go all in. And throughout my law enforcement career, we always did things half-assed. Always. Always. It was all Band-Aids. It was all reactionary. Why are we reactionary when we know this was going to happen? Why were there not tabletop meetings playing this out prior to Donald Trump getting into office? And then when he got in office, talking to Pete Hegseth and everybody, I need special units ready to go in the thousands when we have civil unrest because we're going to have it. Are you telling me that our CIA didn't know about nokings.org? Are you really going to try to sell me that bag of garbage, that our CIA didn't know this? Our domestic surveillance didn't know that this was going to happen? Our FBI didn't know this was going to happen? Come on. Come on, guys. This is coordinated, planned, and it's probably planned in within the deep state of our government as well.
And this is another thing that I wonder about because, you have to get people to champion something, right? To like 9/11, where people were, we need security, TSA, Homeland Security is created. So we're looking at this situation. All right, how can the people buy in? CBDC, in my view, and I've said this a million times, it's already here. We got phones. Mm-hmm. You're not reversing that. But to get people more entrenched with these devices, we need election integrity. We need to find out who's here. You want election integrity? All right, we'll use these tracking devices to find out who's here and who's not. And people will be like, yeah, yeah. Now you look at the events that were coming up on Saturday. You're seeing the videos from LA. You're seeing the unrest. The response has been very lackluster. So now all of a sudden you intensify it, right, with the National Guard, potential military. Is it providing an opportunity for them to lock us down again, declare some type of martial law? And I'm not saying that a heavy iron fist response isn't appropriate, but I almost feel like we're being set up here, and there's no easy way. There's no easy route. They want to lock this country down again. I firmly believe that.
Traitorous.
Does it make sense what I'm saying, JJ?
Yeah, no, it makes complete sense but I want you to, at least my pushback would be, because we have allowed the left to destroy our country, destroy our sovereignty, allow millions of people into our country, become lawless. We have foreign enemies inside America and inside of our own government through our elected officials, dual allegiance, dual citizenship. Some are illegal aliens. There is no half measure that's going to get us back, right? There's no, but we have to be aware of another Patriot Act. I don't want a Patriot Act. The Patriot Act needs to be abolished, but we're still ratifying it and certifying it every other 4, 5, 6 years that they need, and we're spying on Americans. Is there some soft spot? No, I don't believe there is. How do you get 50 million people out of your country? How do you do that? Do you do it by 1,000 a day? That will be over 100 years. It's not going to happen. Look, we have the real ID already. It ain't going away. Has social security number, etc. Why aren't we using that to identify people right now? Where's your ID? You don't have it? Oh, where are you born? Go through your questions. You're arrested. Gone. I find you to be a legal alien. Why are we not doing that? Why are we not? Here's the even bigger question. You have shelters in LA, shelters in New York, hotels in New York, hotels in LA. You have them scattered across America with hundreds, if not thousands, of illegal aliens living in there. And why are we not raiding them? Why? Ask yourself this. And I hate to say this out loud because I'm such a big fan, and not fan, I support and respect these men. You have been waiting to get back in power for years. Why was there not a comprehensive immigration law enforcement plan laid out? Why was there no bed spaces built? Why was there no buses and planes and logistics laid out very, very rapidly day one? Why? Are we that stupid? Are we that naive? Or are we that culpable? Meaning, do we still have enemies within our government that are sabotaging everything? Because this reaction to get 50 million people out of the country is sophomoric at best. At best. You have Donald Trump has now reassigned, we call it fired, but the media says reassigned 2 ICE directors. 2 ICE directors. Stephen Miller, his senior advisor, has gone in last week to DHS to talk to all the senior leaders, and they said he was reaming them, saying whatever you're doing needs to be tripled, at least tripled. Nothing is being done that needs to be done in order to be successful. And as a former guy that ran task forces and stations, I don't understand it. I don't understand any of this, and nothing makes sense. It's sophomoric. It's half-assed. Let me give you an example, Michael. L.A. Everyone knows this in law enforcement, especially immigration law enforcement. L.A. is the epicenter of illegal aliens, illegal alien family members, sanctuary city. The chief of police won't help you. The sheriffs won't help you. And yet you sent in a cadre of ICE agents into the garment district of LA, into a barrio of LA, and you didn't have any backup for them. Who effing approved that op plan? And why are they not fired? Honestly, I would never do this. Never. And I was asked on Redacted, Clayton Morris asked me this yesterday, what would you do? What would I do? I would do many, many things. But if I was a task force operator, I had 50 men under my command, and we were going into the garment district, I would tell my president or Tom Homan, I need minimum 200 National Guard to literally have security perimeter protection for me. Where were they? We had ICE officers literally, not figuratively, literally had their backs against the wall of buildings and had to fight their way out of it. Why are we doing this so half-assed? Why aren't we doing this with massive force and effectiveness and removing people? And the moment somebody gets in our face, they're arrested. The moment a politician starts to say that we need a riot, why are they not arrested immediately? Because we do not have the stomach to do what's necessary. We don't.
And that includes Donald Trump, in my opinion.
Unfortunately, yes.
And I think you look at 2020 as well. I mean, he was a president during that time, and you look at CHOP that occurred in Seattle, Minneapolis, the night of May 30th. It was a disaster. And yes, I understand he kicked it back to the States, but this whole notion of, well, he learned this time around. He learned this time around. I don't know. I don't see it yet. And I'm so tired of hearing they haven't been in office that long. Give it time. I'm tired of hearing that.
He's been in office way too long. It's 5 months. There's not been one person arrested. Not one. I wrote a book and did a documentary on child sex trafficking. RFK Jr. came out 2 weeks ago under congressional testimony, last week under congressional testimony, and admitted openly that HHS, the federal government, is the main trafficker of children into sexual slavery. Over 500,000 children are lost. HHS did it. Our federal government trafficked children during the Biden administration, and not one freaking congressperson has acted on that. Where's the task force to go find these children? Where the hell is a lot of things, Michael? Honestly, where the hell is a lot of things? I don't know. I don't know. It's like if I was going to be president, would I be able to know everything that I need to do? No. But I would have a war board, and every time something came to me, like as I'm coming into office, I want a national task force to go look for these children. You're in charge, JJ. You're in charge, so-and-so. Then I want you to brief me in 72 hours what you're going to do and what you're going to need. 10-4, sir. Hey, we're going to begin ICE raids in major cities in LA. You're in charge of that. Tell me what you need. You got 72 hours to give me a comprehensive plan. Yes, sir. Where are they? Where is this? And Donald Trump needs to realize, and I hope he does, but I am the biggest supporter of Donald Trump. Sir, if you don't do what you need to do, if you don't pull your military back from across the globe and place it in American cities and destroy these anti-American socialist and communist organizations, then they're going to devour your nation, and we're not going to come out of it. And if you don't remove the 50 million illegal aliens, understand when the 2030 census comes out that when they count every one of these illegal aliens in the blue cities and blue states, they will flip the seats in the House of Representatives up to 62 seats will be flipped. We will have a 60-seat majority in the House for the Democrats. And then guess what they do when they get the 2030 census also? They will then make a determination and reallocation of electoral college votes. And where will electoral college votes have to be taken from red states and be given to blue states because the blue states have the vast majority of illegal aliens living in them? Game over. Even Elon Musk came out and said, if this happens, meaning Trump does not remove illegal aliens, he will lose America forever. We will never be able to vote ourselves out of it. And that is the biggest plan. That's why you're seeing these anti-American Marxist groups so hell-bent. Why are the Democrats so hell-bent to save illegal aliens that they'll let their cities burn to the ground because they know the long game is they will have power for eternity. That's the truth.
And like I said earlier, people aren't willing to do what is really needed to be done. But I also wonder, is this some type of setup in order to create this divide, create this unrest? And here's the other thing we haven't talked about yet. You're reading all this stuff going around that Israel potentially, I hate to say this because it's like it's always like war is imminent with Iran and it never happens.
Right.
Kind of like the whole Iran is about to have a nuclear weapon. I've been hearing about that for, how long have they been talking about that? 20 years or something?
Yeah.
And they shortened the window. It used to be within a year. Now it's within 6 months, a week, whatever. But that's circulating around a lot today too, that Israel, or the last couple of days, that Israel is prepared for a strike. In the what if scenario, if that occurs, what are the protests going to be like in this country?
Yeah, it's going to explode. We're a powder keg in America. Why are we in a powder keg of America? Is because we brought in the whole world into our country, and we have no allegiance to the United States of America, and now we are balkanized. We have people that hate the Jews, the Palestinians, and they're here in America. Do you know that the minimum of 6,000 Palestinians were brought to America under Joe Biden? This is just the minimum number. And then Joe Biden put a tag on them where they could not be deported. Did you know that? And did you know that if you go into cbp.gov and look for the numbers of Palestinians arrested in the last 4 years, do you know that Palestine does not exist as a recognized country within CBP and DHS? So I asked someone that's in the business in there, I said, well, where do you put them? They're not ghosts, they're people. Yeah, we just kind of put them wherever we want to in the Middle Eastern numbers. Okay. America, you have no idea the number and the danger that you're in because of what our government has done since 1965, but more specifically in the last 4 years. You have no idea. Right now, the Middle East embassies are being all the non-essential personnel is being removed, meaning everyone that's not warfighters or CIA intel guys are being removed from the embassies in the Middle East because they're preparing for war. But that's a good point you make, and I talked about this on my show. Look at what we don't talk about anymore. You have the U.S. Embassy are clearing out their personnel, and we don't even talk about it. Why? Because we're focused on these race riots within our own cities. Illegal aliens funded by NGOs that were funded by our government. We're killing ourselves. But look at what's happening across in America and internationally that we don't even discuss. Look what RFK Jr. came out yesterday and gave a speech on. He said, right now, your child in school has to get 69 to 92 vaccine shots. 92 vaccine shots, and not one of the 92 vaccinations have been tested. Holy crap. But you see, it's almost as if and maybe you're right. Maybe this is a giant smokescreen to take our mind off of everything else and focus on this while they continue to destroy our country. We're being attacked on all fronts. And we have to be, whatever the attack is and the violent level of that attack, it needs to come in 10 times. Our response is 10 times, and we crush it. And if we kill U.S. citizens in the process of them trying to hurt America, well, too bad. I really believe that. There has to be, I don't believe, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. I do not believe we recover as a nation without a violent revolution. I don't see it.
I don't think we, at this point, people they push back on me because even I was wrong about the election, but so far I'm proven to be right. People aren't willing to do what needs to be done, but the flip side of it too is, what is the enemy? I don't think people really understand what the enemy is. And in my view, the enemy is technology. because it's gone to the days of, you know, your people versus my people, fight, guns, grenades, what have you. Technology. You can't destroy the technology. I mean, let's take the grids out, then you got a whole new problem. Then it's really Mad Max at that rate. But as long as technology continues to advance and evolve, they just tighten the grips on us. They tighten the noose little by little by little. And we've seen it over the years.
Okay, so let's follow this path. So you just came from Washington, D.C. So knowing what you know about technology and your feelings and your beliefs about the politicians, do you think there's any way to go and elect honest Americans that will do what's right for America? Do you believe that?
No. And I'll tell you, can I share an observation of when I was there? Because I was staying in Reston. They got data centers. They're building them all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Either for AI or storage. And happened to meet some guy kind of randomly who is building these things. And he was telling us. And that night on the newswire, Amazon they're putting $20 billion into these data centers. One is by a nuclear plant in Pennsylvania. I look at that and I'm like, yeah, this didn't just start in November when Trump got reelected. This has been going on for, how many years? So this technology is moving so fast. And then I say to myself, I'm like, okay. And I come back to an article that my friend Matt Smith wrote, who I've had on here, and he's a couple of times to talk about it. Was COVID a setup for all this? Was it a setup for where this is all going? They were able to put money in our bank accounts. Was that a test run for universal basic income? How many people are going to be laid off from AI? Both on the top and the bottom. White collar and low level jobs.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So then it makes me wonder, okay, so, kind of tying it all back in, because to me it's all connected. And, you've got now protests in LA, the Middle East is on fire, what's going on in Russia, Ukraine, a guy on the motorcycle, are you trying to turn people against Mexico and Mexicans? Is that the play? Is it going to be against the Muslims and all the Middle Eastern? I mean, I'm in Northeast Ohio. There are so many Middle Eastern people here. I mean, I've told you this. My father was 100% Lebanese. There's a lot of Lebanese people in Northeast Ohio.
Ohio is, as I've done my research and wrote in my book, Ohio, for whatever reason, is the dumping ground of the Middle East and African illegal aliens. I'll give you an example. What is it? Laughlin? Is it Laughlin outside of Cincinnati has a population of 3,500 people. They dumped in over 3,000 Mauritanians into Laughlin. 3,000. So you just destroyed a whole population. Don't speak English, completely all Muslim. Their claim to fame in the Islamic Republic of Mauritania, that's the official name, that their two claims of fame are they are the poorest and largest country on the continent of Africa, and two, they just began to allow schoolgirls to go to school, school-age girls to attend school and learn. How are those savages going to assimilate into a suburb of Cincinnati? Not well, my friend. Not well at all. And we're seeing the destruction of America through rapes, murders, assaults by illegal aliens of U.S. citizens, and everyone's saying, don't worry about it, it's all good. I think it's all coming to a head. I don't think, I think everything is connected. I don't think any of this, this is not an illegal alien protest. That is just one part of it. This is a much bigger part when you begin to see who's funding it. The NGO types they're there. They're almost universally across the board, all Marxist, socialist organizations. And that's what you're seeing. You're seeing a chance, in their mind, a chance to fundamentally transform America. The only thing that's saving us is Donald Trump. Could you imagine any other president, in any Republican in the presidency right now? Do you know how much they would be capitulating? Who are you going to put in there? Ben Crenshaw? Jim Jordan? Comer? Speaker Johnson? Kamala Harris? Could you imagine if that dumb, illiterate twit was in the White House right now? Holy cow, man. This would be it. I'm ready for a kinetic response. I believe that we are there now. A lot of people don't want to hear that. But when the words are no good, your vote's no good, you're left with nothing else. And then the question is, do we have enough American men that will hear this call and come together? And my answer to that right now is no. No.
But even if they did, this is the question that I ask myself with that. And I don't disagree with you, but what is the real enemy? Because in regards to technology, they can debank us, they take away your credit card, can't access your money, suppress you on social media, and just starve you out.
Well, if that's what's going to happen, then if I was in charge or I was risen up to the ranks and I had 5 million people then my response to them is, I want you to go engage in warfare with everyone that you think's responsible. And will there be innocence, blood shed? In every war, there are millions of casualties of people that had nothing to do with it. That's where we're coming. That's where I think America needs to understand. Let's all go into the future 10 years, and nothing is done about this, and we're 10 years into the future, and we are completely digital currency, and they start taking your way to live, start taking your bank account. Do you think that nothing's going to happen? Do you think when people start to starve and they start to take money from you, Michael, and from me, and which they're doing and giving to illiterate third world peasants that came here illegally, and I can't make my ends meet, and then they make me put people in my house, or they just seize my house completely? You think I'm just going to take that? You think I'm just going to allow the government to come take my stuff? No, I'm not. I'm not. Because you just took my life. So now I have to fight back. Is there enough men like me? I just don't know. I really don't know. And I know it sounds harsh. I know it sounds far-fetched, but it's really not. I mean, do have a little critical thinking in your brain and stop thinking about the present and start looking 4 or 5 steps down the road, 7, 8, 10, 15 years down the road. If we continue on, okay, let's play the game. Let's go back 10 years. If you were interviewing me right now, 10 years ago, 2015, and I said to you, Michael, listen, this is what's going to happen. We're in a societal decay, moral decay. Within 10 years, moms and dads are going to be ripping the genitals off of their children and mutilating their bodies and changing their sexes in their brain. And they're going to allow teachers to be transgender with fake breasts, wearing dresses, and having one-on-one contact with your children. You're going to have homosexual parades in Main Street with naked men riding floats, performing oral sex and anal sex on each other. And we're all going to applaud it, Michael. And if you do not applaud, they're going to call you vile names, and they're going to deplatform you off of the future social media. 10 years ago, you would have said to me, hey, yeah, you know what? We're going to have to end this interview right now because you're mentally ill. Honestly, you would have thought that. So now you're hearing me today telling you 10 years from now, we could be all deplatformed, dirt, digital currency, and our whole way of life taken away from us. And you're like, no, that would never happen, JJ. Okay. You want to keep believing that insanity? You want to keep believing that we're not hurtling to that? We have men in women's sports. We have men in boxing matches acting as if they're women and they're winning a gold medal or winning a prize, and everyone's like, wow, that's a strong woman. That's a strong woman. Men can have babies. Oh, yes, say it out loud. Men, yes, absolutely. Men can have babies. So we're living in insane times. We're not, how you can't see 10 years from now is not going to be crazier. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to convince you. I really don't. Because I think it's so clear. I see it clearly. Do I know everything that's going to happen in 10 years? Of course not. But I can tell you in the parameter of craziness, do you think we're going to become less crazy or more crazy? Maybe that's the simple question. Do you think things are going to get crazier or less crazy in 10 years? I'd say they're going to be crazier.
I agree because nothing's changed. Even, yeah, there's a little bit of pause on the DEI stuff. There's a little bit of there's a little more pushback on the transgenders, but it hasn't stopped. Hasn't stopped in
No.
the schools.
Nope.
Big Pharma, it's not going away. I don't care what they say. I saw Robert Malone, Martin Kulldorff, and others were appointed yesterday in positions. Big Pharma's not going. Too many people are on Ozempic and Adderall and SSIs.
Yep.
They can't survive without it.
Well, maybe think about this. Let's take Dan Bongino and Cash Patel. When you say, is anything going to change? I would have guessed if those two men, if you told me this 2 years ago, those two men will be running the FBI, I would say, well, there's going to be some massive arrest, massive investigations. Nope. Can you explain that to me? Do you have an idea? Do you follow that as much? The whole FBI, Dan Bongino and Cash Patel giving their interviews to Maria Bartoloma and Fox News, and I'm listening to a man, Dan Bongino, that never sounded like that. He sounds like a half the man he once was. Have you followed that at all? Have you watched him?
I don't know what was said. I don't know what's it looks like an invasion of the body snatchers with those guys.
Yeah. Dan Bongino in the Maria Bartoloma interview, he looked like someone sucked the blood out of him. And I asked the gentleman that I really respect, that is in the business of interview techniques, propaganda, all that, CIA type guy. And I said, what is your take? And he said he did not say one thing truthful. And he went through it with me. Look at him, look down, look at him, look up, look at him, look down at the side, listen to his cadence. He didn't say anything truthful. So then what got to him? Who got to him? That you went, and why I was so, and I still am, and maybe I'm wrong. But think of why was I so high on Dan Bongino? There's a multitude of reasons, but one reason, Michael, is if he does not change his course, he cannot go back to his old life. Meaning he can't go back to Rumble with 3 million followers making millions of dollars a year, because no one's going to listen to him. They're going to say you're a fraud. So I thought for sure someone like him would come up there with guns blazing. But guns are not blazing.
And they're not going to. I'm sorry, like they're not. I hate to say those things. That's why I hate the word hope. I feel like you and I have talked about this before. And Michael Yon and my friend Matt Bracken always said hope is not a strategy. And I heard so many people after the election saying, "Oh, I hope." And it was like right down the line. You know, it was Matt Gaetz. All right, well, he didn't get in. Pam Bondi. What has she done? What has she done since she took office?
Nothing.
Then it was Kennedy. Kennedy was going to save, or no, it was Elon and Doge. We're going to save the day. Nothing's come out of that except for some Jerry Springer drama. And it was Kennedy, right? Kennedy was next. He was going to crush Big Pharma. I mean, I explained to you why Big Pharma is not going away. Imagine if people don't get their antidepressants, if like for whatever reason, power went out, supply chain breakdown, they tear each other apart.
I know. Here's what I think. Somebody made a great point to me, and I didn't even think of it, right? This makes great sense, though. How do they control you if you're a civilian like Dan Bongino and you have this insane following where people tune into you every single day by the tens of millions when you get done calculating shorts and then his daily show? How do you control them? Well, the fastest way to control them, Michael, is to bring them into the fold. and say, here's all the information, here's all the Epstein rapes, here's all the stolen election, here's the little kid that tried to kill President Trump, here's it all. Hey, top secret, can't say anything about it, or you go to jail. Oh, crap. So now I can't talk about it. But someone's going to have to be a man that goes into that world, and they say that to them. And then that man says, oh, sure, I won't say anything. And then a plan goes on TV and lays it all out, sends all of it out to podcasters like me and you and friends that he trusts and say, on this date, in 2 days, I'm going live to talk about it. And then I want you to send it all over the internet. That here's the rapist, here's the videos of it, here's the politicians, here's the CIA, here's everyone. And you might have to offer your own body up, meaning I'm going to do this knowing that I'm going to get, someone's going to come for me. Will that happen? Don't have hope that it's going to happen. I think that's when I say, outside of violent revolution, nothing's going to change, because the apparatus is so corrupted. You have a poison tree all the way down to its roots, and all of its fruit is poison. You can't make that tree healthy again. The only thing you can do is put a chain around it and yank it out by its roots and burn it. And that's what has to happen to the federal government. I have a question for you. I'd like to hear your thoughts. I've been to Washington, D.C. many times. But the last time I went to testify in front of Congress, it was overwhelming feeling. When I was driving into Washington, D.C., and I've been there before, the overwhelming feeling was two things. One, wow, what an incredibly beautiful place this is, with the marble granite monuments and buildings. It was just beautiful, clean and beautiful. And the second thing that immediately washed over me was, there's too much power here. You could physically feel the power. It was tangible, like I could touch it. There's too much power. Our founding fathers never in their wildest dreams would have signed the Constitution or the Bill of Rights and agreed to this government knowing that the federal government would be this huge and powerful. No way. Did you get that sense at all when you were there?
I felt like an evil empire, right? Like the Death Star, like driving in, and the contrast of people I saw at Arlington versus down by the Jefferson Memorial, walked by the Treasury Department, the Commerce Department, the White House, saw the Eisenhower building on the White House lawn, and yet a little farther away, I mean, walking distance, we were walking everywhere. I just saw tents on this grassy lawn of homeless people. And it's like, you see these beautiful buildings, the history here, and yet the decay outside of it. The Lincoln Memorial, my thought was like DEI. I saw every ethnicity. I saw, just the reflection pool, the water was gross. Looked like, I don't know when the last time they cleaned that. Just filthy. It reminded me, it almost like to a certain degree being around all that, the Lincoln Memorial, it reminded me of the Las Vegas Strip. A little lesser than that, but like, you know how you walk on the Strip and how it's just kind of that filth element to it? I didn't feel that way. Yeah, all the vampires like running around.
Well, I think when you're down there in D.C., you're right. You're in Arlington, you see a lot of Americans. You go around average day Americans, then you go around the power structure, and it's all the power suits and the people that are part of the deep state. Look, man, I wish that I was coming on your show and saying, look at how great Donald Trump is, and look how unified our nation is. Our nation is not. Our nation is divided. It's splintered, and you have to understand, how did it become divided? Well, we don't even share the same language. We don't even share the same societal norms, customs, religion, belief systems. So why are you shocked that we're not yoked to each other? Why? If I would have told you in the 1950s or 60s, well, yeah, we're yoked. We all, look at us. We're cohesive. Do we have problems? Yes, we have problems, but we're a cohesive nation. Why do you think we were able to win World War I and World War II? Because we were a nation with shared values. We do not have a nation that shared values and shared commonalities or even a shared language. So why would anyone expect us to be a nation that is thriving? We're not thriving. We're not. I'm a MAGA guy, and I tell my MAGA friends, well, when they say, well, JJ, you're saying that we're not great. I go, hold on a second. You're a MAGA person, right? Yeah, I'm all 100% MAGA. Well, what does MAGA stand for, you idiot? Make America great again. So when you're saying that MAGA slogan, you're admitting that America is not great currently. And that's true. America's not great currently. Number one consumer of child pornography, America. One of the top nations on planet Earth that pays money to rape children, America. The number one demand of slave labor, America. The number one consumer of hard narcotics in the world, America. The number one exporter of pornography in the world, United States of America. Tell me how we are a shiny city on the hill. Tell me how we are a great nation. Go ahead, I'm waiting.
I know we're out of time here with you, but what is your top concern right now?
My top concern is the inability of our government to remove illegal aliens from our country, because that is when you try to combat something, then you have to know what that something is. The Democrats made a decision to fundamentally transform America by using illegal immigration to change the demographics of America and then change the voting bloc, meaning through electoral college and appropriation of House seats. That is the biggest problem. Everything else we're dealing with is going to seem small in comparison when 2030 rolls around and when you have 285 or 385 Democrat seats in the House. And you're like, oh my God, what just happened to America? Well, America's gone. That's my biggest concern.
Well, this wasn't very uplifting for some people, but it is what it is where we're at. And, I like to be objective in my thought process and where I think this is going. And just took us years to get to this point. And these institutions cannot be salvaged. How this thing breaks apart, I don't know. But there's also a side of me that I've thought for a while, like, oh, it's imminent. But it comes and it goes, and we keep limping along.
That's a dangerous state to be in, right? Limping along. Let's look at the wild. So if you have an animal that's wounded and it's limping along, how long is that animal going to survive? Not long. Because the other predators are looking at it going, I can go take it now. No matter how big that giant lion is or that buffalo, he's wounded, I can take it. And just to follow the end with this is, some people will say, well, this isn't a great conversation, it's not uplifting, and you're blackpilling. My response to that is, I'm not going to waste your time or insult your intelligence by trying to be Pollyanna. What I'm saying is factually true. And if you can't handle the truth, then go somewhere else. Go watch your Desperate Housewives. Go do whatever you need to do. But this is factually what's happened. This is the world we live in. And you were right, Michael. It didn't start just under Joe Biden. He accelerated it. It started way 100 years ago. Started this buildup, this socialist, communist buildup. And now we're living in it. And if you don't think that America will implode and die, then you have no idea or no concept of history. History's already shown this played out multiple times in different civilizations. We're no different than them.
Well, and you have the right media that's the alt-right. The propaganda is just as bad on that side as it is on the left.
Yeah.
Pushing narratives, pushing.
Yeah, let's just talk about the truth. The truth is America's never been this vulnerable. America's allowed the enemy in. We are bankrupt by $37 trillion because our federal government stole that money. Stole it. Let me ask you something real quick. If you spent $100,000 on your credit card and you brought it to your wife if you're married, your wife's first question would be, well, what did you buy? Did you buy a car? No, I didn't. I don't know what I bought. I don't have anything. It's gone. So my question to the federal government, you spent $36 trillion. What did you buy? Well, I don't know. Okay. We don't have a problem there, people. And then every politician for decades is now millionaires. And you can't, because you're so intellectually inferior, you can't connect the dots to see that your government and your leaders have been raping and pillaging you for decades and enriching themselves, all while they've been having you and your life get worse and worse and worse. Is your life better than it was 10 years ago? Mine isn't. Mine isn't.
No, and if individuals, taxes, homeowners insurance, all these things they nickel dime you for every which way to keep feeding this beast.
Yep. And inflation, they printed so much money, inflation's dead. So, Michael, I appreciate the time you always give me. These are hard conversations, but they're conversations that have to be had. So I appreciate you having me on.
Where can people find you, JJ?
The best way is just in my website, jjcarrell.com. Just jjcarrell.com.
And on X?
jjcarrell14. And I have all my links and books, etc., social links on my website. So if you just go there, it'll just click and you're right on my X account. So thank you.
As always, thanks for making the time, and I'm sure it won't be that long before we speak again.
Sounds great, brother. Have a good one. Thank you.
Mic drop. This episode is brought to you by Vaulted. Launched by McIlvaney Financial Group, with Vaulted, I literally just tap a button and bam, I own physical gold stored in a professional vault. I can also take delivery at any time, extremely simple and less expensive than any other method. The do-it-yourself way to buy precious metals. Click on the promo link in the show notes or go to vaulted.blbvux.net/coffeeandamike. I mean, look at how easy this is. The Vaulted app on my phone, I can access it at any time.